Yeah,
This
good to hear your
conference
voice. I'll
will
talk to you
now be
soon.
recorded.
Thanks, Patrick. So, welcome to the clean for Day, October 8th. I'm Don Haas. I'm facilitating today, and our guest is Lacy Cagle. But before I introduce her, let me see if there are any announcements. Any announcements? Hearing none, I guess we'll dig right in. So, Lacy is the director of learning at Ecochallenge.org, where she develops and refines a system of high quality learning programs that inspire action and advocacy. And she'll be talking about that work today. And I think I'm just going to go ahead and I'll ask one more time if there are any announcements before we dig in.
Don, I have finally unmuted myself. This is Karen Holwig. And I just want to mention that all of us with NAAEE are getting ready to pack our bags and head off to our conference, which starts in Lexington on October 16th.
Awesome. Awesome. A couple of my PRI colleagues will be there, so looking for that.
Great. I'll look forward to seeing them.
I'll be there too, and thanks. I'll look forward to seeing you, Karen.
Likewise. I know Roberta was trying to organize a get together, and I haven't talked to her or emailed with her recently. But if any of you, what I'm going to do is ask her to send out another note just to make sure that we've got everybody who's coming, and have a chance to get together some evening for drinks or dinner or something.
Okay, sounds good. I think I just had a pop-up that controls were given to me, but actually controls should go to Lacy. Lacy, have you got control?
Yes, you just made me the presenter again.
It says she is the new presenter.
All right. Okay. Any other announcements before we dig in?
Really quickly, this is Megan Carter from ESIP, making my regular announcement about the next ESIP meeting, which will be in January. I'm putting the link into the chat box. We're currently accepting submissions for session proposals. They're due in 10 days. And I think the most relevant thing to tell you guys is that the ESIP Education Committee is planning a couple of sessions there. They're also planning to try to adopt a school or a learning organization in the DC area to revisit each January when we return for our winter meetings. And so the two sessions they're thinking about are trying to start an initial conversation with teachers from the organization they identified to determine sort of their needs and what the ESIP Education Committee can offer for support. And the second one looks like they're thinking about the role of big data and why students should be data literate. These are very early notes that I'm reading right now, so I may not be capturing fully what they'd like to do, but I wanted to share that with you all.
Okay, thank you. All right. Any other announcements? All right. Well, take it away, Lacy.
Thanks, Don. Can everyone see the slides that I'm sharing right now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks. I just wanted, it wasn't obvious, so I wanted to make sure. So yeah, today I'm going to be talking about Ecochallenge, both Drawdown Ecochallenge, as well as a little bit about People's Ecochallenge, which is actually happening right now, with the theme of global change on a human scale. And as Don mentioned, I'm with Ecochallenge.org. For those of you who've been in this work a long time, you might actually know us as Northwest Earth Institute. That's been our name for 25 years, and actually just are switching over to our new name this month, because people are very confused about Northwest Earth Institute being an international organization, because we're not just in the Northwest anymore. So Ecochallenge.org is our new name, and we're having a website launching this week, actually. As Don said, I'm the director of learning here. And in my work, as well as in probably all of your work, um, we're very aware of where we are right now with the world. This is a picture from Reuters of the Amazon burning. We are very aware of the challenges that we face, the likelihood of what is happening in the next few years, let alone few decades. And it can be quite sobering and overwhelming. And often when we are trying to get people to act, the more they learn about the problems that we face, the more overwhelming it feels to know how to make change. That's our current state. And then this is, I think, a funny little representation of Paris as some sort of sustainability futuristic city. But I think the idea is that we're trying to get to sustainable human systems. We all probably know that the sustainability issues that we face are not environmental issues. They are human societal issues that have caused environmental issues. And we're trying to get to this place where we can live on this planet as humans, but have sustainable systems that actually work in harmony with the natural world. And we need that vision of what we want in the future. And we need to figure out how to get there. And we know it's not a direct path, it's going to be winding. We've got some challenges ahead of us. There are people like Drawdown who have put options out there for us to be able to figure out how to reverse global warming, reduce our carbon emissions, what we're putting into the atmosphere, and actually take carbon out of the atmosphere. But getting from where we are now to that envisioned future is still a difficult pathway to figure out. And we need lots of different ways to get to that. So here are some examples of some of the things that are happening right now that are necessary. As Donnella Meadows has talked about, making changes in systems, we have different leverage points. And there are leverage points that are easier to enact, but don't make as big systemic change. And there are leverage points that are really, really difficult to push down on. But when you do, they make significant change. We can't just choose one of them. We have to be working in all different ways. So what we're doing with the network of educating people about climate literacy, awareness, and getting people to share resources is really important. Mapping out pathways to get there, as Drawdown has done, is really important. The children who are doing the climate strikes and all the other different activism that's happening in the world is really important to show that there are people who care, who are making a difference. We need new data, and this is a report that just recently came out here in St. Louis, where I'm located, about environmental racism, actually putting data to a lot of the stories we already know of people's lived experiences here in this region as well as in other regions. And we need people who, like Greta, are challenging the rules, saying the rules need to be changed, telling people that they're not doing enough, they need to do more. And we need people like Alexandria who are actually working to change those rules. And we need people who are giving us visions of what a sustainable world might look like and how we might get there. And then there in the middle, we have a comic by Sarah Lazarevic, who made this for Yes Magazine, about behavior change. And behavior change is what Ecochallenge.org focuses on, not because we think that is the only path to get where we need to go, but it's one of the paths, and it's really important. Individual behavior change is definitely not enough to make the changes we needed, but we can't get to where we're going without individual behavior change. So what we try to do at Ecochallenge.org is connect those individual changes to the larger system to make change. And I really love this little part of the comic because this person asks the other person, "Why do you bike?" And she responds, "Because I'm a deeply unoriginal person and everyone's doing it." And I love that because with social norming, it's really important for people to think that, oh, they're missing out if they're not doing what everyone else is doing. And finding ways to make other people think that bringing your own mug or signing petitions or turning off lights or upcycling or eating less meat or biking or things that they should be doing can actually create much more significant change than when we're just measuring individual behavior changes on their own. So I want to tell you about our change model. whenever there's a problem, we see that one problem, and often we're reacting to that one problem. But there's actually all kinds of other things that are connected to that issue that we're facing. And a lot of times, imagine where this arrow is, this one person. This one person is a very simplified version of a complex system. This one person making a difference in their own lives. We don't give much to them as far as credit for what they're doing. It's great that you're making changes in your own life, and that's not enough. And it absolutely is true. It's not enough. If a person changes a light bulb and stops there, that is not enough. Nowhere near enough what we need to make change. But if a person changes a light bulb, feels a sense of accomplishment, and is inspired to do more because of that, then we can start leading them down a path to greater change, greater advocacy, and actually becoming change agents within a larger community. And that is what Ecochallenge does. We help people connect their individual lifestyle changes, the changes that they already think they should make, that they want to make, that helps them live their values and feel like they're doing something in their own lives to put their values into action. We help connect those things to larger changes that are necessary to create cultural change, as well as create change within other organizations. And we know that corporations make changes based upon changing trends in consumer values and consumer demands. We also know that politicians are not going to make policy changes unless they think that there is broad public support for those changes. It all starts with individuals who then link with other people to create action. And our change model does that by helping people connect, reflect, and act with each other. So with Connect, we're actually getting people to connect to their own values, to connect to the system that they are a part of and see those connections to a larger system, and then also connect with each other socially to feel that they have a community of support and that they're not alone. We also encourage people to reflect on their connections with each other, on their connections between their actions and their impact on the greater world, and what they can be doing differently to create the change that's needed, not just in their own lives, but also in larger systems. And then we ask people to act. We ask people to act on the learning and connections they've made, to act on their values. And I presented them in this order, but actually with Ecochallenge, we actually usually ask people to connect with each other and act first, and then reflect on their actions. So these are all working together. There's not really one particular way in which these flow. They all can be iterative and work together. So I'm telling you today about two different programs we offer. The first one is Drawdown Ecochallenge. And Drawdown Ecochallenge until this fall was an event that we offered in April of each year for people to be able to take action on the solutions that Drawdown has mapped, measured, and modeled. And actually, starting this month, Drawdown Ecochallenge is actually available at any point in the year for you to use. So you can pick the time frame that you're wanting to use it in, get your team together and take action at any point that makes sense for your own calendar and what else you have going on. For those of you who aren't familiar with Drawdown, Project Drawdown created this book, Drawdown, the most comprehensive plan ever proposed to reverse global warming. And it came out in 2016. It's been a New York Times bestseller, and in it they had 100 solutions for taking CO2 or CO2 equivalents out of the atmosphere. Drawdown is the point in time when the concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere begins to decline on a year-to-year basis. And they were able to say that this is the most comprehensive plan ever proposed to reverse global warming because it was one of the only plans ever proposed to reverse global warming. So Drawdown maps, measures, and models, and then describes the most substantive solutions that already exist to addressing global warming. And the solutions that were included in this book, 80 of those solutions were currently available and scaling. They were economically viable. They have the potential to reduce at least 50 million tons of greenhouse gases over 30 years. They have positive benefits that outweigh negative results. So there are solutions in here that include things like nuclear power, but there is acknowledgement that there is some negative results from nuclear power, but they consider the positive benefits to outweigh those negative results when it comes to getting greenhouse gases out of the atmosphere. And each of those 80 solutions have sufficient data to be modeled at a global scale. So 80 of those solutions had all of these characteristics. And then 20 were categorized as coming attractions, things that for whatever reason weren't scalable yet or weren't currently available commercially, or that didn't have enough data to be able to map some of this other stuff, are also included as coming solutions. And Drawdown has actually been working with over 65 researchers from around the planet they worked with 65 researchers originally to map out these solutions, and they have been working to have an update to those solutions coming out next year, which will include a category on water and oceans. So with Drawdown Ecochallenge, we actually took all of the different solutions that Drawdown offered and mapped them to actions that individuals could take in their own life to be able to make change in their own lifestyles, in their households, in their communities, and beyond. And so there's 7 categories: transport, food, materials, women and girls, buildings and cities, electricity, and land use, which is not showing up on this right here. And then we also have an action track, which is a social justice action track for people who are specifically focused in that kind of action, that pulls actions from any of these other categories that people can then commit to. Oh, sorry, I had before. And so we have had people participating in Drawdown Ecochallenge for the last 3 years, and we'll continue to have them participating, but in a different way starting this fall. So these all have actions that people can take in their own lives. A lot of them are one-time actions, so something that people can do as far as changing something in their household, like taking out their downspouts and putting them with rain barrels, or donating to a particular organization that's helping educate girls. And then a lot of them are also actions that they can actually take on for the entire challenge. So something that's actually geared toward behavior change. And then we saw the results. This is from the April 2019 Drawdown Ecochallenge year. So there are people who are helping other people in the community in various ways. There are people that are eating meatless or vegan meals, making sure that they were traveling not by car, in some way not emitting CO2 by their powering down of electronics or by not driving their car, and then also making sure that they weren't wasting as far as plastics or water, planting trees, and then also learning about other solutions in their communities and making donations to organizations who are working on these issues. So I'll tell you a little bit more about Drawdown Ecochallenge in a minute, but I'm also going to tell you about People's Ecochallenge. So the People's Ecochallenge actually started on October 2nd, and it runs through the month of October. So 3 weeks, October 2nd through October 23rd. So this is something that's happening right now. You can join right now if you'd like. Please feel free to. And the People's Ecochallenge is very similar in design to Drawdown Ecochallenge, but it's just a little bit broader as far as the categories. They're not mapped to any particular research. It's using a kind of a conglomeration of a lot of research out there as far as what actions are something that would actually make a difference. So last year, when People's Ecochallenge has also been going on for, this is the 11th year for People's Ecochallenge. Before this year, we actually called it October Ecochallenge, and before we had multiple events, it was just called Ecochallenge. But last year, for the 2018 People's Ecochallenge, we had 16,602 total participants with 79 countries represented. Those people took 282,964 actions on 842 teams. And the collective impacts were pretty impressive. I want to show you these because I want to show you that we're not just focusing on direct sustainability impacts, we're also focusing on things that make people's lives better and healthier. And for those people who are those sort of sustainability champions in their organizations, they're really working hard on sustainability issues. We want them to recognize that personal sustainability is really important too. And how do we help them maintain their own passion and energy to be able to keep doing the work? So we had 326,000 minutes of additional sleep that people took in order to try to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep a day. And that's like watching the entire Harry Potter series 307 times. Our intern put this together for us, and I like the impact she used. Over almost 33,000 plastic straws were not put into the landfill, which is over 38 times the height of the Space Needle. About 30,000 disposable cups were not put into landfill, which is over 11 times the height of the Eiffel Tower. 264,000 gallons of water were not used, and that can fill over 13 backyard pools. Almost 88,000 miles were not traveled by car, so either by foot, by bike, or public transportation. That's enough miles to make over 4 round trips from Oregon to Antarctica. And 834,000 minutes were spent exercising, mostly outside, which is like running 3,039 marathons. We had some, beyond just the quantitative impacts, we also had some qualitative impacts of people responding to the challenge. And Liliana in Sacramento said that she learned that there are many ways to make a small impact in our daily lives. Doing this challenge makes me realize that every year how easy it is to make small changes that result in big results. Working together to help spread the word about recycling and conservation is always fun. A lot of our participants actually are people who end up doing the challenge multiple times, either doing the same challenge every year or doing multiple challenges in a year based upon what the focus is. Marianne in Connecticut said, I considered myself an eco-pro before I started this challenge, but I learned so much and networked with several fantastic local and national organizations I didn't know about. Thanks for all the resources compiled for this challenge. I feel like I just took, in 3 intense weeks, the most important and relevant college course ever. And then Casey in Massachusetts said, I can't even describe how much weight was lifted just by being able to look through all of the challenge options and see the real things that I can do to help reduce my impact and in some cases the impact of others. So many of us feel overwhelmed trying to figure out what we can do to help the earth. Now I've got a big list of ideas. I'm excited to get started and to continue long after the challenge is over. This is exactly the type of resource I've been searching for. Ideas and resources for making the changes necessary to help us all. So on these particular actions or these particular comments, they're focusing kind of on the challenge overall and what they got from it. It's really great because we also offer those reflection questions and asking people to post to their feed on Ecochallenge, where we get their insights about the actions that they're taking specifically. So if they're trying to eat more vegetarian meals, recognizing why our country itself is so meat focused and how they might be able to make that change in a broader way. Or when people are reducing their paper usage, also talking about like because of their change, how their mom reduced their paper usage at the same time too. So we get those more specific reflections by questions that we ask people or by them actually responding to what's happening to them while they're completing their actions. All of this that I'm sharing with you is really grounded on behavior change and transformative learning principles. So with behavior change principles, we try to make sure that we are encouraging many, many actions that are easy to do, simple little changes that can be able to stay, that people are able to keep implementing in the long term in their lives. So making sure that things are sequential, that they can go from step 1 to step 2, and that they're manageable bites for people. We do also offer more challenging actions for people who feel like they've kind of done that and need to do something bigger. So we offer a range from those kind of first steps to people who feel like they're eco-pros and to do something more significant. We are also making connections for people between what is good for the planet and what's good for them. So we definitely offer a lot of actions that are rewarding for people, just internally motivating. They can see their points adding up. They can see their impact adding up in real time. And we offer that kind of gamification where people can challenge each other. They can compete with each other if that's something that really motivates them, just to make it a fun experience overall. And then, of course, as I've said before, Ecochallenge platforms are social. We're encouraging people, they're team-based, we're encouraging people to connect with each other, connect with other people in their network or in their physical location, to know that they're not alone in wanting to create change, and then also being able to connect with other networks, other teams, and see that around the world people are actually taking action to make change. And then the Eco Challenge is also designed to be personally transformative, so people can have those aha moments by actually taking action in some way, seeing what needs to be done differently, and really being able to make long-term change in their lives instead of just for those 3 weeks. And then, as I've mentioned before, we are connecting people to the larger system and helping them understand the patterns and trends, the underlying structures and the mental models that contribute to unsustainability and that need to be changed in some way in order to make a more sustainable world. We're helping bring to light those sort of invisible assumptions that we have about the world and help people hold those up and question those and then take action to change them if necessary. So with any Eco Challenge event, the way it works is, as it says, it's team-based. So you either can create your own team or you can join a team that's been created for you. So there are lots of people who are using teams in their classes, on college campuses, or even in high schools, people who are getting their residence halls to compete with each other, people who are using them to engage their employees, or just local community groups, faith groups, and things like that, people who are taking action in some way. So you can create that team or you can join a team that's created for you. You select your actions that are the different categories that are available for that time period. We let people know if they're selecting too many actions and that it might be difficult for them to actually achieve them all, to say, hey, think about what you could actually achieve in this time period. And we let people know how difficult the challenge might be, and give them resources to help them be successful in completing their action. And then when you select your actions, you're not just taking a pledge to actually do this action, you actually are checking in each day to say if you've completed your action, to say what was challenging about it, to say that you completed one action but not the other action. And so you're actually having impact that is self-reported, but it is based upon people actually reporting that they're taking action and not just pledging to take that action. And you see that impact building up for yourself, as well as for your team, and then for everyone who's participating in that challenge at that time. And at the same time, you're also being able to share your story about what's working for you, what's challenging, what resources you discovered that other people on your team might be interested in, and just being able to encourage each other through that process as well. So through all of those, we're helping people connect the dots between their actions and their intention, and then the impact it has on the planet, not just on ecosystems, but also on other people as well. So I wanted to show you how this works. So with selecting your actions, this should be linking to, here we go. So this is my dashboard for People's Eco Challenge that's happening right now. So you can go and you can see all of the different challenges that are available of actions you can choose. So for People's Eco Challenge, there are there's 10 categories, and then there's also an option to create your own. So if there's something on here like making your own pet food or something that isn't an action on here that you could choose, you could make your own action to be able to see those changes. So we also have for People's Eco Challenge a high impact action track, and these are things that are based upon research that are showing are some of the most impactful things that people can do in their own lives. So say that I decided that I was supposed to go fly somewhere this time, this year, but I decided that I was going to stay on the ground instead. I can see that this is an Eco Leader action, and it's also a one-time challenge. So I do it one time and I'm done for that. And I can also learn more about other resources that might be available. So we've got resources for drawdown solutions, as well as reasons why you might not want to fly. And then I can select that as an action. I can say how many miles I would be avoiding in that flight, and then I would add that to my actions. See, this is what I told you about it. Oh, you may try only having 1 to 5 actions per day. We let people know to try to get them to do something that actually they will be successful in. And then we have actions like reducing single-use disposables, where it still has the action resource links there. It tells you that this is an eco learner level. It's going to be a lot easier, take less time or cost, and it is a daily challenge. So it'd be something I would be trying to commit to every day. So I can select this, think about how many single-use disposables I might have in a day, and then commit to keeping 2 containers out of landfill each day. So that's how you select your actions. And then once you've selected your actions, you actually complete your actions. Oh, and that's going to the wrong thing. So let's go back to my dashboard. So here I have the actions that I actually am completing for this eco challenge. And then I also have the ones I just added of staying on the ground and reducing single-use disposables. So each day I can check in saying that I've completed these actions. So today I can say that I didn't use a reusable, or I used a reusable bag and didn't use any disposable bags. Congratulations, I did it for today. So there's my check-in for the day. And then if I wanted to be able to share my story, I can answer this reflection question and post it to my feed. I can add an image. With sharing my story, I can also go to my feed and see my feed, the feed from my team, or the feed from everyone who is participating, as well as people who are taking actions like mine. People can share resources and share their process as they're going along. And then you can see the collective impact. So our total impact last year for a drawdown, we had 1,500,000 actions taken, 427,000 plastic items not sent to the landfill, 242,000 sustainable meals consumed, and almost 332,000 miles of alternative transportation taken. So I've told you about Drawdown Eco Challenge and about People's Eco Challenge, which is happening right now. We also do Campus Eco Challenge, and just like Drawdown Eco Challenge, Campus Eco Challenge is open all year long. You can choose your time frame for using Campus Eco Challenge, and we have people who do use it for an entire semester for a class that they're teaching, or people who use it just for a couple weeks. We usually suggest that people do a 3 to 4 week challenge. Longer than that is difficult for people to stay engaged unless you are doing a lot of pending for that because you're doing another program or initiative. And then we also have Plastic Free Eco Challenge, which is a July event that we've had the last 2 years. With Campus Eco Challenge, it is specifically focused to students who are living on campus. So some of the challenges are changed from things that they might not have much control over to things that they can have control over. And Plastic Free is specifically focused on being aware of plastic usage, cutting down plastic usage, and reducing pollution. And then we also do have Eco Challenge platforms connected to 2 of our course books. So Choices for Sustainable Living has an Eco Challenge, and Seeing Systems has an Eco Challenge starting this year. And that way, people who are participating in a discussion course or using the course book in their classes can also be taking actions each week based upon what they're learning for the week. So that's my presentation today about Eco Challenge. You can join us at peoplesecochallenge.org right now. I would encourage you to go there and take a look at what's going on, seeing the impact add up in real time. And it gives you a chance to sort of explore to see if it's something you would want to do with your groups, your networks. And then you can also go to drawdown.ecochallenge.org. All of our public events are free to people. They are made free by the sponsors who advertise with us on our pages and who also provide us some of the products that we do offer as prizes for People's Eco Challenge. And then we also do customized events with people. So if you are wanting to do some sort of customized Eco Challenge that was branded for your organization or network, We can do that, as well as we offer low-cost premium packages for people if you would like to get more data about the team that's using Ecochallenge at any point for the public Ecochallenge Eds. So I invite you to go try it out. Normally, if we were in person, I would do a little interactive activity here, and it's a little harder for me to adapt to be online right now. But I'm wondering what questions you might have for me about our work, our data, or our engagement.
Thanks. That was great. Any questions for Lacy?
Lacy, this is Karen Holweg. I have a question that's related to, I first used Drawdown Ecochallenge last spring during Earth Week. And and I organized a team through NAAEE. We challenged a sub team that was another NAA, led by an NAAEE member down in Texas. And I found it, the point, I want to make a point and then ask a question. The part of Drawdown Ecochallenge that I found most innovative and successful from my perspective was the fact that you could see a number of different groups, and it was both a friendly competition that got to be very social and a little bit competitive, and led me to see the collective impact of this more than just individuals changing light bulbs kinds of things. And that was because we were all doing it during Earth Week, and there was a start time and an end time. And I understand that you're making this year round, and I'm wondering if you don't lose that challenge, collective impact, interaction of teams when you do that. And the other thing that I wanted to say about the teams is I think teams that are local, that can talk to and see each other day by day, would be much more effective than the kind of team that we mounted, which was electronic. And you couldn't pass people in the hallway or talk to them directly. And so I would advocate next time I do it for a local team that actually is people that see each other.
Yeah, thanks. That's a good question and good feedback. To address the first question, it'll be interesting to see with Drawdown Ecochallenge what happens with us changing it from a particular time period to it kind of being open whenever. That's the first time we've done that to make that change with any of our Eco-challenges. For Campus Eco-challenge, it has been something that's been available at any time period since we first started it. And it actually it's the same categories and very similar actions to People's Eco-challenge, which is running right now. What we find with Campus Eco-challenge is, so Dickinson College uses Campus Eco-challenge with one of their larger campus initiatives, and they started doing it, really tying those things together last year. And what they did was they actually recruited 2 other of their rival schools to do it with them. So instead of having a whole bunch of people, so they had 3 different schools that were doing it at the same time. And that was the way they kind of created that challenge and that competition and that kind of friendly rivalry with them. Other people
within their own time frame, right?
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
So other people who use Campus Eco-challenge, for whatever reason, they may not feel like that's important for what they're doing, and so they don't find that necessary. But I think that there is definitely a way to create that kind of everyone's doing it at the same time feeling through whatever engagement you might already have. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see with Drawdown Eco-challenge. That is one of our questions: is how will it change when anybody can do it at any point instead of everybody doing it at the same time?
Yeah.
Because it's not quite as lively to see everyone on the site, when people are doing it at different time versus like, okay, for 3 weeks, 16,000 people are doing this. That's pretty amazing. So we'll have to see how that changes. But that's definitely how colleges have dealt with Campus Eco-challenge and trying to find that kind of friendly rivalry. And then as far as your second point about having an in-person team. I do know teams that are electronically connected who do a really, really great job with a challenge. They're probably connected in other ways outside of just Ecochallenge so that they're still like being able to talk about it. But I definitely find so I work remotely here in St. Louis. I'm the only person in our office here, and then the rest of my colleagues are in Portland. And so I definitely make a People's Eco Challenge team that is a local team. I'm working with our regional sustainability network to do that. And I find that much more rewarding for me because when the people on my team are finding resources, they actually relate to me. You know, I can say, oh, I can go to that restaurant or I can use that guide here. And then I also find that, yeah, when I see people in person, people are like, oh, I'm doing this and this was really fun and this is what I learned. And so I do really appreciate having that in-person connection as well.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Does
Other
anybody
questions?
else have any? Please go ahead.
Lacy, Jim Callahan, climatechangeeducation.org. Looking at the website, and you guys are doing very important work. When it comes to with Clean, a lot of the programs are focused on working on K-12, right? They're in the schools, and it's a lot of it's curriculum and stuff for K-12 schools. A lot of the aim is there. Then there are those of us who do that and do more broadly with the public on different levels and so on. But to the extent where Ecochallenge would be with K-12 students, there's absolutely the question of which comes up all the time, and we're among those that have agreed for a long time. We're not just about teaching the science of climate change, right? It isn't just about the problem, but how do we have education that helps people to understand what they can do about it, right? That goes on in the schools. What I'm getting at is where Ecochallenge might have teams that are at the K-12 level, just sharing some of the ways that comes up with K-12 students, right, or K-12 teams, right, their green teams and so on. So among them is that what K-12 kids can do in that grade loop, it can be somewhat different than what adults can do, right, or even university students can do. But it is not at all limited. It's more a matter of what it is that we as adults might share with them about what kind of works. And I'm just kind of sharing a couple of those and getting your feedback on that. Is one, the classic one, of course, and I like that you are not just yet another that says this, is that we have to put all our attention into getting the federal government to change. And until that happens, it's really all hopeless, and we're kind of sunk, right? Which that's been a message for quite some time.
Right.
But and the kid, what of course goes to the kids is the personal level things. Absolutely, right? What they can do at home, recycling, composting, biking, all those different things to do. But what I wanted to kind of just mention is there's the thing of the kids can take a part of action that is usually not on the action list, and that is helping to do education itself. The kids themselves can be educators, and not, once again, also not just educating about climate science, but climate action. And they're very effective in it. And so it might be a thing of teams where, and that's something kids can do, right? They're in their own schools. They can help other schools. People listen to kids when they really know what they're doing. And just, that might be kind of a thing of it. Finally, some of what we work on, our particular focus, is the STEM education, the science, technology, engineering, and math education they have. Okay, we can use that to learn about how climate change works and where the problems are and what's going on. But we can also turn that same technology, that same science and engineering around on a place that the students can be part of affecting change on the community level, on the city level, on the state level. And just kind of bringing that up, that's kind of a new thing, that the kids can actually be actively part of making their city more energy efficient and things like that. So, I mean, there might be a kind of a thing of, if coming to the Clean Network of Ecochallenge, we engage in conversation of, so what are the green teams, the school teams looking for that the kids can do? Okay, I went on too much.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. So we have middle school through high school teams who participate in various Eco Challenge events. And actually, not this year, but last year, the team who sort of won Eco Challenge, who had the most points for their number of people on their team, was actually a high school in Asheville. So definitely we have older students, high school students, and some middle school students who are participating in this around the nation. And a lot of our actions are around letting your peers know what you're learning, asking other people to help you in taking action, volunteering with local organizations, uh, letting people know what you think. And we had a climate change panel with local high school students a couple weeks ago, in which it was just so great. One of these students said, "Well, I am fiscally conservative but socially liberal," and he's like, "And I've campaigned for Republican candidates here, and one of our local representatives thinks that we should not be able to ban bags, and I need to tell him that he's not being Republican enough because local control is really important to Republicans, and we should have a say about whether we can ban bags or not." And it was so great to hear this student, one who had a different political ideology that I probably would have expected to be on a climate change panel, and also knowing that he could use his voice to make a difference, that people would listen to him. And so we definitely try to encourage that with the actions that we present on any of the Eco Challenge platforms, particularly with Drawdown, taking the science. If you look at the women and girls category, that's really hard to figure out what you're doing in your daily life. And we encourage people to do social media and campaigns around why educating girls is important. Understanding that girls sometimes can't go to school after they start their periods, and so donating kits to help them be able to have hygiene and still be able to keep going to school. So really kind of expanding beyond just the science to understanding those social connections as well.
Very good.
I want to go back to what you said at the beginning, Lacy, because I think it was really important. You started by saying something like, climate change is not an environmental problem, it's a societal human problem that creates environmental impacts. Is that a fair?
Yes, that's pretty good. That's pretty much what I said.
Okay. And I think that's a really important point for all of us. And I think that's been front and center for the last month in our country with all the demonstrations and everything. And I think the Drawdown Eco Challenge really addresses that in a way that's not just personal changing light bulbs things, but as you've said, engaging in actions that lead to collective social, societal change. I was amazed at how our team last spring really got into the changing what we eat kind of arena. And we're talking about, different menus and different, so what are you doing to get away from just having lentils? And it was really a social, cultural, societal kind of discussion, as opposed to the scientific discussion. And I found that very, very hopeful in what I saw happening with our team. And I also noticed that one of the teams that was doing the best in the top 10 teams, I don't remember where they were from, somewhere on the East Coast, was a K9 or a K12 team. I don't remember which school it was. So schools get very involved in this, as well as adult groups and various kinds of corporate and social groups.
Yes, and I definitely was. I mean, I said that I made the comment about the person who was reducing their paper usage and then talked about how they had gotten their mom to reduce their paper usage too. That was a comment I actually just read this morning, where younger people are they want to be able to actually have some sort of agency in being able to make change in their own lives, but they are always thinking about how they can get the adults around them to do something too. And providing them actions to be able to do that, to encourage that, I think is really important.
Other questions?
I was just going to say, Karen, definitely our approach as an organization since we started 26 years ago was that we wanted to get out from just the science around sustainability issues and help people understand those social issues and how they're connected, understand um, what parts we can play in making that change. And that's definitely the approach we take, not only with our Eco Challenge platforms, but with our course books as well, is helping people see the very interdisciplinary nature of these issues and that the solutions required for them also, if we do it the right way, will be good for people just in general too.
Mhm.
Lacy, a comment, Jim Callahan? See if I can represent different points of view, not just the school that we belong to. In the K-12, in the education thing, definitely the question of action and solutions and science is there. There is a strong movement from a strong push, as there has been actually since the beginning, that we should not really be teaching science at all, or that we should downplay it. And one of there's many arguments, but one of the more common ones now is that, well, it's too complicated and it just wastes people's time. If we're talking about science, we should get to what we want them to do, right?
Mhm.
Part of the thing I would bring up is if our solutions are science based and people are getting no science or their science they're getting is wrong, then our solutions aren't right and they're not really based on science. And I think just be aware of that when we're dealing with education, that there's new ways in which it comes up, as it has come up from the beginning. From the very beginning, when I did that, we got immediately hit by the petroleum industry trying to buy us out from doing education on climate change. It's nothing new to suppress science, but there's new ways it's coming up. And I would just kind of bring up the idea that we should not be teaching science, or it's okay to teach it really poorly. Has its problems, although there's others who would disagree with me and say it's actually good that we don't teach it.
Well, that's why the Drawdown Eco Challenge for me is so important. It's based on the big study that is
Mhm.
published in Drawdown.
Yeah, we actually we're each year we're reviewing our Eco Challenge actions and trying to keep them aligned with what's the best, most up-to-date science out there. And that is to say that not all of our actions are high impact. There are actions that you can take to turn off the tap when you're brushing your teeth. And that is not the highest impact water action you can make. Most of your water use, as you probably all know, comes from not directly from your tap in your house, but from other things like the foods that you eat or the products you consume or the transportation you use. But we do try to give people those smaller actions to be able to kind of have those that feeling of success in completing so that they can get to the next one. And everything that we do is trying to get people to go toward larger change. But yeah, so we do have actions that aren't necessarily high impact, with the idea that that might be the first step that somebody takes to get them to something that is more impactful. But we are trying to base everything that we do around research that other people have done. We're not doing the research ourselves, but we're using other people's research to ground this in what science is saying needs to be done.
Lacey, this is Wendy Abshire. I haven't spoken yet, but I've been listening attentively, and I just wanted to thank you both for the work you're doing and the articulate way in which you shared it with us. This one briefing has really helped me understand what you're up to and how it relates to what we're doing with teacher education and inspiring them to look into this more when they're considering groups they're working with. So thank you.
Thanks, Wendy. Any other questions or comments?
Thank you.
Okay, well, yeah, thanks, Don. Thanks for allowing me to share with you what we're doing. It's really exciting for me. You know, I've been with this organization for 9 years, and it's really exciting for me to be able to share this and to tell you it's free and we can customize and all this stuff that makes it a lot easier to feel like I am offering a resource to people. If you have things that you want to talk about, connections you want to make, questions you have, or concerns that you might have, my email address is up there on that last slide. Please feel free to contact me. I'd love to talk to you, and I'd love to find out more about what you're doing and if there's opportunities for collaboration as well. So thanks for your time today, and I appreciate your questions and your attentiveness.
Thank you, Lacy.
Yeah. All righty, I guess we'll call it a day. Thanks very much.
Okay, thanks,
Thank you,
Don.
Don.
Have a good day.
Thank
You
you,
too.
Lacy.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.